Hello everyone, Thomas Fleming again. As I'm recording this, I've finished my move-in on my moving day, and I decided to go ahead and just talk a little bit. I'm taking a little bit of a break in my normal talk. Some pretty heavy-duty stuff we've been talking about, and it's not getting better around the world, it's getting worse. Sometimes you just got to take a break. God rested on the seventh day. You know? If we look at Psalm 23, times like this I think about, He will make us to lie down in green pastures. People don't like to stop working sometimes, and we have to. You have to charge the batteries. I'm looking at, I guess that's power line going across there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As far as I can see, I see 7 fishing rigs hanging from their lures and whatever, where they cast too high. How can you do that? That doesn't have a lot of smarts to that, but I'll leave that for that. Like I said, it's completely quiet here in the park. I was doing my post video. If you guys don't stay to the end, you don't see my post videos. I used to work with Marvel all the time. I learned to put something important at the end. You have to stay to the end. I have a hanging seat over here. You know I like those, so I've got one I'm looking at. Okay, I see 2 ducks, so I can add that to the list of wildlife here. It hasn't been that long since we got our big rain. That was yesterday, the night before yesterday, I guess. And then yesterday it was time to dry out, and the wind was blowing. A couple of times it picked up my rainfly and reversed it going up. There was no rain, but I was worried about branches falling. All these trees here, and you get a big strong wind. The last thing you want is a big branch to come falling down on top of you. And when you're out in these quiet woods, you can actually hear the branches clanging with each other as the wind blows through. I'm on the water's edge, and I'm looking to see if there's any fish. People come out here and fish all the time, but I never see anybody catch anything. I'm still debating about getting my fishing license. I miss not being able to do that. I've just been trying to stay off of the radar. But I'm probably already on their radar, so it doesn't matter. And that's what I'll tell you. Don't worry about anything. They probably already have all of us on lists. Okay, can I sit down on this bench? The one at the other park was metal. Great. And this one's wood, but it's dry. There's still water in a small pool at my feet. Got the sun on its way across and down. It's afternoon. So make sure you take time to just rest and enjoy nature. Some will say, well, what about Sunday? Isn't that our day of rest? Well, if you work in a ministry of any kind, Sunday is often a work day. And I still go to church even though I'm traveling. And I help out, and if I can, I'll teach a Bible study. I got to be long enough in the sight they know that they can count on me. This one here, there's a pastor I really like. A very good teacher. Talked a little bit in my last video about the lies of Satan. Satan doesn't get up on a street corner and start preaching lies. He doesn't need to. He's got enough people. There are some really sick, blasphemous people out there. I was listening to Tom Hughes, and he was talking about saying that if there was a pride parade, Jesus would be the grand marshal. Yeah. I suppose if you're going to lie, go big. And there was other stuff I don't even want to repeat, having to do with Jesus. Pray for the world. In America, we're still in good shape, relatively. and pray for the third world state of California. I miss being out there at times. And I'm afraid that they're going to get their, I don't know if it's wrath of God, but some kind of wrath here shortly. When the world goes into full-blown earthquake erupting everywhere, California is probably one of the biggest areas that's going to get hit. It's been relatively quiet lately, except for the last few months. They've had a couple of 6s down south of California in Mexico, Baja and that. The Mauna Loa volcano in Hawaii is erupting. That's the world's largest, they call it a plate volcano. I forget what they call it. It has a classification, and it's the world's largest one of those. You know, that and 50 cents might get you a cup of coffee, but in any case, it's erupting for the first time in 38 years. So the Pacific plate seems to be moving. And California is covered in faults because the Pacific plate is pushing into California, and it's causing the Sierra Nevadas to move up. That's what causes mountains. Plate collision. That's why we have the Himalayas mountains, and we have a lot of other mountains around. It's because of the plates running into each other. The east coast of the United States is fairly low. Our mountains here are worn down. The mountains here were originally caused by plate collisions, but it's been so long, the Atlantic Ocean is separating the plates. Our one world island of Pangaea is separating. There's so much of this stuff that you see what God has done. I can argue with people about how long the earth is, how long things have been out here. I think we're looking at a long time. Man wants to put everything in his little control. I say the same thing about early times as I do about end times. If you've got 20 million theories out there and they're all wrong, let them have their theories. Same thing goes about the end times and when the rapture is and when this is happening. Let them have their theories. If you don't want to listen to them, don't listen to them, but don't jump on their page and just start yelling at them. They're trying. They're studying the Word. It's probably more than most are doing, especially the complainers. Complainers are really good at one thing, complaining. What they should be doing is debating. And come on there and say, this is why you're wrong, but they haven't a clue. They've been told something by somebody else that they didn't bother to look up. And now they're taking that information and using it to hit somebody else with. Now, come on, do your homework, people. I give you Bible verses so that you can look things up. Don't take my word for any of this stuff. And even if I don't give you a Bible verse, because I'm just talking like now, I did say Psalm 23 earlier. You can usually look up what I say. Google it. If it's a Bible quote, you can Google it. There are online Bibles. I have one on my phone. I have one on my laptop. And guess what? I even have a hardbound copy that I carry with me so that I can read to you here because I can't read on my phone while I'm filming. We have technology, but they're not. I look at film tech or video technology on phones similar to what I did 20 years ago on the internet. It's like, oh, it's got a ways to go. It's getting better. My phone is more powerful than the computers I worked on when I started in the computer industry. When I went to work in Silicon Valley, I was working on 4-bit processors. We finally got an 8-bit. PDP-4, PDP-8. You may know what those are if you're old like me. But they didn't do a whole lot. I mean, the Pong game was an early game that you could play on basic computers. When I started, they had word games, storyline games. The first one was called Adventure. I don't remember now. Later on, they came out with Zork. You may have seen that one. No graphics, just text. And somebody would write a story and embed it into it and let you navigate through a computerized map. You'd say, go north. And you'd say something like, you have wandered into a rocky cliff area. You can look down and see things below or whatever. So you don't want to go any further. So then you tell it to go, and you had north, south, east, or west. So you had to figure out, you had to kind of get out a yellow pad back then and start mapping. Every time you went someplace, you built a little square there and then put in there what you found so you could get your way back. We've come a long way from there. Now you can pretty much, the graphics on computers is good enough that you can pretty much see anything. And that's one of the reasons you've got to be careful. Don't program your brain to respond to what's in a game. If you're playing 24/7, you're programming your brain with that. If you're going to program your brain, program it with the Bible. Now you can do both, but you've got to do each one in their right amount of time. You should spend more time in the Bible reading than playing a game. I will sometimes play a game just to, I put distraction in my category of if you ever go to a wine tasting and you have a glass of, or a small little glass of wine. I don't drink anymore, but I used to go to wine tastings coming from California. Going down another rabbit hole, I hope I find my way back. Anyhow, you would take a sip of the wine And then you might have a cracker or something else they've got there to eat to cleanse your palate, to get rid of the flavor of that, so then you could sample the next one. Because if you don't, you get the mixture of wine A and wine B, and that doesn't exist. So you cleanse your palate. So I cleanse my mind by doing things. Reading the Bible is sometimes cleansing, sometimes not. It is certainly the first and the last thing I do. And if I play a game, the next thing I do is to get back in the Bible again, to make sure that I'm doing what's right. I saw something hit the surface of the water. Again, I am right here on the water's edge in my little swing, and I'm just watching. I'm not seeing a lot of bugs on the water. See, I'm off in another rabbit hole. You got to basically keep your priorities straight. I have an awful lot of free time. If I choose not to do anything with it, then I have to get back to work at some point. I have to keep myself motivated. Now, I've said an awful lot of I's and me's and things like that. I did this in a video a while back. Whenever I say things like that, I'm talking about God helping me. I'm here, I'm not by myself. If God isn't sitting on the bench next to me, He's sitting inside of me watching all this stuff too. And I'm talking to God constantly. A van pulled in. What's he doing? He's going to come right behind me. A couple of people live down on the sides. I'm not sure if they're rangers. I don't know. That might be a mail truck. But I think there's a ranger house right there. See, if you're looking for something fun to do, every state park, county park, they have people that work there. If you're a ranger, you get to go hang out in the park and live in the park. Sometimes they'll let you change parks. You might have to take a park in an area that's not as popular as others. When you get some seniority, you can move around. You can go up in the mountains, you can go down on the beach, you can go all kinds of places. Something is in the water. Those aren't bugs on the surface, because then the ripples go away, there's nothing there. Okay, never mind. False alarm. When you start getting a buildup of leaves and other gunk, and they start to decay, you get little bubbles of water come up to the surface. And that's all it is. So there are fish out there. This being a county park, they're probably planters. This is where you can take kids to come fish. Most of them would be little. But to a 5-year-old, a 3-inch fish is big. So, take time. Take time to be still. God speaks in a still, small voice. There's a verse for you. Want to know where it is? Look it up. Find out about Elijah and others. We have the complete history of all the patriarchs, all the people that dealt with God throughout their lifetime. We have a history of that in the Bible. Yeah, some of it's dry. Leviticus is dry, and Numbers a little bit. Genesis and Exodus, those are fun. There are other books that are interesting. Read the book of Esther. You won't see the word God mentioned anywhere, and yet it's all about him. If you actually study the Bible, you need a study Bible for that. I actually like the computers better now because you can click between versions and you can click over to the ones that have the concordance lookups, get the words out of it. If you really want to understand it, though, you've got to study the Bible, not just read it, study it. Don't pick it up and start reading it on your own. It's no different than walking in this park by myself. I won't appreciate it as well as if I've got God with me. The Spirit in us can interpret and decipher the Bible for you better than any teacher. You might even understand something to be unique that you didn't realize. I mean, even today, I can read something that I've read millions of times, and I'm exaggerating, but thousands of times, and get something new out of it, find a new way to apply it. God is really good about picking something, describing it, and then having it so that it means something in like 5 or 6 different directions. It's like the threads of Kevin Bacon. How can you relate back to Kevin Bacon? How can you relate back to this verse? Follow the threads, follow the rabbit holes. I'm good at that. I wander off all the time and I forget to come back sometimes. I'll start explaining something and people come back to me, what did you mean by that? Oh, I thought I explained it, and then I'll go back and listen. I got off on a rabbit trail. Well, today's 4 rabbit trails. Here comes a park worker. I see the bright green jacket on. They always have white vehicles for some reason. Some may have a logo on the door, some don't. And in this park in particular, they patrol this park more than they do the state park. Although I see the people in the state park all the time, so I'm not getting them for not patrolling, they do. But I seem to see them more here. I'm trying to get the sun out from shining there. There, okay, there's the top. I'm still looking for a new selfie stick. Every time I go and look for one, they don't have any, at least ones that are any different or any better. The biggest problem with the selfie sticks, let me see if I can go out over here, is the old ones aren't designed for these big phones, and they can't handle the weight. And that's why the real old one, the one I use sometimes, it spins on me all the time. It was designed for a lot lighter phone, half the weight of this one. This one seems to hold, but it doesn't allow me to get the movement I want out of it. If you play tennis, I'm holding this like I would hold for a forehand slice. I can put this in tennis grips. I can turn my grip for a backhand slice. I wish I could go out and play. I might even try to do that in one of my chances to unwind a little bit. I used to be very active, and I've had to slow down because of my knee and my back, but got good memories playing tennis. I'm just having a day of reflection right now. So I hope you guys are just kind of enjoying this. I've already got tomorrow's video uploaded because I didn't know if I was going to have time today. Sometimes the parks won't let you in early. I got in here about 10:30. One park in particular that I absolutely don't recommend and hate to go to now is Sweetwater Creek Park, State Park. I don't recommend that park to anybody. There aren't many tent sites, but the people there were rude. I showed up a half hour early. They told me to come back. I come back 2 minutes early and the guy goes, "I'll be back, I'm going to the bathroom," and came back 15 minutes later. And then I tried to pay for my site and said, "Okay, I'm a senior, I need the senior discount." "Oh, we don't give that here. All state parks give it there." They were trying to rip me off. And yes, I reported them, but who knows? I will just never go back to that one. All the other parks that I stay at are great. And this county park. There are 3 close to the park I was just at, and I enjoy all 3 of the parks. So there's the lake. There's my swing. After my move today, since I got to be able to park real close, my back isn't bothering me too bad, so hopefully I'm going to be able to start doing some hikes again. Had to hold off on it, but it feels pretty good right now, so tomorrow we're going to try for a hike. Apparently there's another storm coming in maybe Wednesday. We're in that cycle of storms where they come in like every 3 or 4 days. At least they're coming out of the Gulf, which means that we're not getting really cold weather. It's still cool, and it's damp. This morning the fog was so bad you couldn't see 20 feet in front of you. They have a group lodge, that says manager's residence. And no vehicles on that trail. Of course, they do drive on the trail, but that's the people that work here. I can't drive on it. And most places don't allow you to have those four-wheel buggies or off-road vehicles or whatever they want to call them. And no motorcycles, and no... I don't even know if you can have an electric bike. They have bike trails, but I don't know if you can handle those. I wonder if the visitor center sells fishing license. I might go by there and ask them. Because it looks like I'm staying in Georgia for a little while longer. I've got to deal with my son. It's a pleasure to help out, don't get me wrong on that. But that means I have to change my plans. And I pray that God will help us both. We got about a 10-mile-an-hour wind. The wind's blowing on that side of the lake and it's not blowing on this side. That's what you get with the front. Okay, everybody. I've had a nice, relaxing chat. Take it for that. I'll get back to teaching tomorrow. And I hope you enjoy some of the scenery. Again, take God with you on these hikes. He can explain to you why things are the way they are. Okay. Till we meet in the clouds. And it's not very soon that it's going to happen, but it could happen any time. Or it could be a long time away. See, I'm covering all the bases because I don't know. And there are those that are still predicting. Stop it. You don't know either. God is going to protect us all the way up until the rapture. And that tells you when the rapture happens, He can't protect us down here any longer. It's coming up. God bless. Just taking a walk around the new campsite. I've been here before. You may remember my pictures from being here. We have a little runoff creek, another lake over there, and our big lake up here on top. You've got horseshoes you can play here. I think my horse is still wearing them. Miniature golf up here on top. That's about my level of golf. I've played real golf. It takes too much time. Little volleyball net. This is a county park. They've got a number of pavilions for having various get-togethers. Look at that beautiful lake. And there's the dam there, the weir takes the water down to the lower level lake, and then it eventually goes out. Because of all the rain we had, there's actually water running out quite a bit now. I think there's 2 RVs in the campsite. One's probably the host. There's virtually no one here. Okay, well, I'll get out and walk around there some more and we'll talk, but I just wanted you to see if you hadn't seen my earlier videos. I'm not sure what I'm going to see in the way of wildlife. Squirrels, of course, everywhere here. I'm sure there's deer somewhere, but this, because it's a county park, it's surrounded by the city relatively. So there's not as much forest area. This is where I came from. They're going to be killing some of my friends tomorrow. Yeah, there's a deer hunt. Now, I don't know which ones they're going to kill, but I see deer every day there. Probably the same ones, and I don't know if they're going to survive or not. I'm not against hunting. But I always found it hard when you're dealing with animals. I've befriended some kids on various farms and got to see them raise their prize cow or pig or whatever, only to take it in to be sold. That's a hard life. You know, last time I was here, they were working on whatever's being leveled over there. I think they're going to put something more in there. Maybe more campsites, maybe another pavilion, I don't know. I keep forgetting to ask. But that was all. They had it roughly cut in. Now they got a nice gravel road in there. And we have the sun up there trying to peek through the trees. Okay, let me get my camera turned around and we'll do some walking and talking.